one level, there are no others because we all share the same thing. And when we get to that level of being able to interact with each other, at that level of not judging the story, not judging the body, not judging the experiences of that body, and not believing in the other person's story as much as you don't believe in your own, all that you're left with is a complete connection with that person that you can call love, you can call whatever you want to call it. But there is a connection that happens that's totally outside the story. I'm sure most of us have had the experience of meeting someone in our lives that we automatically, from the moment we met them, felt a deep connection to them. That's what this is like. You can have that experience with everyone. When you find someone that you have a deep connection with, I believe what's happening is that your stories don't clash. There's nothing about them immediately that you see that causes you to be defensive. You look at them, and if they're open, and they're not involved in their story so much, so that they're open-hearted, you can see that immediately, and you connect with that. It isn't that you have some special karmic connection with them, or that you've shared a past life. I'm just telling you what I think. I believe it's that an open heart sees an open heart. And that's the connection. You look beyond everything else. And then you start to talk to this person, and you find out that maybe they've done completely different things than you. Maybe you actually don't share anything in common with them except this feeling of connection. I've met lots of people like that in my life. It's like, in some cases, it's almost like, I don't want to know your story. Don't tell me your story because I already feel like I know you. I don't need to know the rest of that because it's not important. And if you tell me, I'll probably find something that I'll be opposed to. And that will lessen the connection, you know? So I remember when I first, 8 years ago here, when we first started the meditation group here, after about the first 6 months of sitting with some of the people that were part of the group back then, we were doing our sharing circle after the meditation. And I literally said to the group, I don't want to know any of you. I don't want to get to know any of you as people. Because when I come here and I sit with you, I feel completely connected to you at a heart level. But if we start talking, I'm going to start not liking you. Because I won't like something in your story, you know? But the story is not important. The story's just the story. It's a familiarity. It gives us something to work from. And if we start to view our story as simply a story, we can use the story, but not be so entrenched in it that it dictates how we act and what we want to be. If we take it a little bit lighter, it's like, yeah, it's our story. That's where I came from. You know, I remember everything about what I am and who I came from and what my parents taught me and what my friends taught me. I can remember all that, but I don't have to take it as hard and fast rules. I can choose to modify it. I can choose to put it down for a while in certain situations. I'm in control, as opposed to the story being in control. I mean, I grew up in a time when families would say things to their children like, we don't do that. You know? What does that mean? We don't do that. Now, first, it's one person telling another that not that they shouldn't do it, that the group, whatever that group is, family, church, whatever, we collectively don't do that, whatever that was. Well, we do that with ourselves and our own stories too. We tell ourselves, oh, I'm not that kind of person. I don't do that. I could never do that. I see this person doing that, but I would never do that. You know, I mean, what it is, it's a reinforcing of the story, of the elements of the story. So if you think you're a certain way and you see someone acting in a way that you don't act, you reinforce your own belief in your own story by saying, I don't do that. That's not right to me. They can do what they want, but I wouldn't do that. All that's doing is reinforcing the story, digging deeper in and putting your heels in and digging in to your story and saying, I am my story and I can be nothing else. If that happens early enough in life, you stop growing. You become that story and you never deviate from it. I wish you all through your entire lives, no matter how long we all live, that we continue to question that story and question whether that's the way we want to be or not. We have the choice at any moment to change our story. The story has no power in and of itself. It's a story. If you don't want to be a certain way that you've always been, then just don't do it. And I know that sounds, how could you do that? Yeah, it goes against everything we're taught, because we're taught to honor the story. You are this kind of person. And then people come along and say, well, you know what? I respect you because you're that kind of person. I think, so there, oh my gosh, not only are you reinforcing your story, now you have others reinforcing your story, saying, I like you because you are the way you are. And you think in your head subconsciously, oh, I better be that way or else they won't like me. So now I'm reinforcing the story in myself based on the input I'm getting from others, even though later on in life there's that's a much more tenuous connection with people. I mean, someone on the street can literally stop you that you've never met before and say, you know what I like about you? And you're going to absorb that and go, all right, I'm going to be that way because that person, I don't even know that person. And yet they can influence my story and make me believe deeper into different parts of my story just by them showing me confirmation, just by showing that they like that. I mean, we all want to be liked. We want to be that person that everybody likes. And we don't want to show anybody the parts that they don't like. If we know someone and we know that we do something that really ticks them off, we tend not to do that around them because we want them to like us. If you delve into that whole idea of you want someone to like you, really what you're saying is you don't really care whether they like you. You don't want them to question your story. If they question your story, then you question your story. So when someone says, I don't like you, they're telling you, I don't like that story. And you go, oh, I don't like the story. Maybe that part of my story is not very good. Maybe I don't believe that either. It starts to raise doubts. And it starts to raise self-worth issues. All of a sudden, if enough people tell you they don't like you, you start doubting who and what you are. And you say, I'm not very worthy. Nobody likes me. Nobody likes when you say nobody likes me, again, let's replace me with the word story. Nobody likes my story. My story is not attractive. So we take those parts of our story that might upset people and we put it away. We keep that for ourselves. We go out, we play with that by ourselves somewhere. But we're not going to share that with others because we know people don't like to hear about that kind of stuff. Especially if we've had trauma in our life or we've had something that we're, quote, quote, ashamed of or guilty of. We don't just sit there and say, hey, you know what? I'm a felon. We don't do that, do we? We may share that with someone we know very well. And when we're comfortable that they're comfortable with our story, we'll share a little bit more.